Here you go, Judy. Here's one more.
Oh, it's a beauty. You know, this time of year we have so many lovely ripe vegetables and fruits in our garden. And today, William and I will be showing you a step-by-step procedure on how to can tomatoes so you can enjoy them for the rest of the year.
We got our information from the OSU Extension Service website. And the first thing you want to do is really think about which tomatoes to pick. Now, you want to get ripe ones to just underripe if you're doing canning. And the reason is if you get the overripe ones, even after the canning process, they could go bad.
Hey, William, you ready to go?
I am.
Let's get into that kitchen. And when you're choosing the tomatoes to can, it really doesn't matter what kind of varieties. Sometimes a mix of tomatoes is even better because you get all kinds of different flavors and textures added to that canned tomatoes.
So there's a couple different ways to can tomatoes. There's a hot pack method and a cold pack method. Today we're going to be doing the cold pack method. So you want to make sure you have everything ready, the lids, the rims, and the jars. You also have to make sure that you wash and sterilize the jars.
It's important to check every rim for rust. You don't want to use any of the rims that have rust on them. And also for the lids, you want to make sure you use fresh lids that have not been used before. Make sure you sterilize them in boiling water according to directions.
Next, you want to make sure that you get your canner filled with water and start it to boil. Also, you want to get a boiling container ready for blanching the tomatoes and an ice bath so when the blanching tomatoes are done, you can pour them into the ice bath.
Now it's time to put the tomatoes into the boiling water. You want to keep them in for about 30 seconds to a minute to allow the skins to crack. Then you want to put them into the ice bath where they'll cool down, and this is called raw pack or cold pack. And now you want to remove the skins. See how easy they come off? And that is because of the blanching. And also at this point, you can remove the stem with a knife.
And now it's time to pack the jars. Notice how we're using different varieties in the process because it adds color, flavor, and texture. You want to make sure that you fill it just below the neck of the jar, and you don't have to be dainty about this process.
At this point, we're adding 2 tablespoons of lemon juice to every quart, and this is an added measure to prevent spoilage. We're also adding 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and this is not to prevent spoilage, but to add extra flavor. At this point, you want to add a little bit of the blanch water to about 1/2 inch below the top of the jar. Next, take a spatula and run it around the inside of the jar to remove any air bubbles. Then clean off the top of the jar so that the lid seals properly.
Then you place the lid and the rim on the jar and hand tighten it. Next, we're going to be filling the canner. Be sure when you start filling it that you take 2 jars and put them on opposite sides of the canner at the same time so there's no tippage. When the canner's full, lower the jars into the boiling water and make sure there's 1 inch of water covering the tops. The boiling water isn't just to seal the jars, it's also to help cook the tomatoes. Next, you put the lid on and set your timer for 45 minutes.
After 45 minutes, remove the jars from the water and allow them to cool. You will actually hear them pop, which indicates that the jars are now sealed.
Well, here's our finished product. Now you might see that we've removed the ring, and we did that because they can tend to rust, and if you want to reuse them, that just helps you. But don't worry, they are sealed.
And the last step is to get a Sharpie and put the date of canning on there. You have about 1 year to use it, and don't forget you'll have this wonderful flavor all winter long.
For information on how we did this, you can go to gardentime.tv and we'll click you over to the OSU Extension Service website.